So you were highly sought after by the Attorney General's office, especially. You worked for an iconic AG, Slade Gordon, right?
Slade Gorton, that's right.
Tell the story, if you would, about the career advice that he gave you. I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting, Dorothy, that he had that kind of wisdom and foresight to plant those kinds of seeds in someone he saw a lot of promise in.
Yeah, I had mentioned to you that I had been given the opportunity to pick which office I wanted to work in the Attorney General had represented many different agencies around the state. So he said, "It's your pick. You get to pick." And so I said, "Okay, I would like to be in consumer protection." And he said, "I would contend, Dorothy, that you want consumer protection because you happen to work in consumer protection in Great Britain. You happen to do some legal work while in law school in Boston relating to consumer protection there, that you were a law clerk in the Attorney General's office in the summers doing consumer protection." He said, "I think that's why you're saying it. You happened into this field, and yeah, you could keep doing it, and you'd probably keep doing it for the rest of your life. But I encourage you to try something totally different from what you have done, and learn in the process that you have many untapped talents, that you can develop skills in a range of fields. And this should give you the courage to move from career to career over your lifetime rather than being confined to what you have always done." So I asked him, "Okay, I'd like to be a litigator. Just throw me into a division where I can get a lot of experience trying cases." And then over the course of my life, I did do 6 careers, undertook 6 quite discrete careers, each building on the other, but each I had his advice in my mind that I could try something different. I could take the risk, that I had talents that weren't yet developed, that could be developed, and that I could keep building my skill set, finding places to put them.
And this was at a time, Dorothy, when I think it was very uncommon to have multiple careers. I mean, it seems in those days that you
Oh,
would
yeah.
start with a company or an organization and 30 or 35 years later, you would retire.
That is what would be common, and also with my personality, I think it would have been very easy for me to just stay loyal,
Mhm.
you know, do a good job, work hard, and retire from the same organization.
What did you learn at the AG's office, Dorothy? And what are you most proud of in your time there?
Well, if you want to talk about leadership, if
Sure.
that's the broad topic before us today, I would say that I learned leadership from below. I was able to watch the Attorney General. I had more than one, but Slade Gordon, for example, Ken Eikenberry. I was able to observe their leadership styles, their messaging. There was another leader in the organization who was very reserved person, very kind of socially awkward, but he when he came into our office, he asked met everybody, he asked everybody he met, "What's working in this organization? What changes would you like to see made? What do you think are our strengths? What do you think are our weaknesses?" And he developed a plan for our department based upon that, and that really it captivated me, and those were skills that I employed with each of my subsequent careers, and so quite valuable method. I also, as a trial lawyer, I was practicing a lot of the skills that are useful in leadership: writing, critical thinking, public speaking, influencing people. I did some lobbying while I was there, but also as a trial lawyer trying to influence juries or judges. Those were valuable skills that
Yeah.
could transfer and I could build upon.
What kind of office did Slade Gordon establish? Because one of the things that is part of our mission at the Beats Working podcast is really to help influence leaders to create an environment that honors people and brings them to their best level at work. What was Slade like in terms of the climate that he created within that office?
Well, he didn't. He was only there for about while I was a law clerk, and then just 1 year, I
Mhm.
think, of in one or two when I was in the office. But he and his successor lawyers, AGs, they all very focused on skill development among the lawyers. It was a meritocracy. They wanted good quality lawyers and ethical culture. They were very open to women coming into the organization at a time when women were not welcome in the bar. Generally, there were very few women up until just a couple years before I entered the bar, passed the bar exam. It had been mainly a male profession, and so they recognized that they could get a lot of talent into the office by bringing women in and encouraging them. And so they did a lot to develop women. They also attempted to racially diversify the Attorney General's office long before a lot of private firms would do so. I would say ethical, hardworking meritocracy and equitable.
I wanted to ask you more about the idea of learning from those who are subordinates in the organization.
Okay.
Because you say you learned a lot over the years about leadership from managers who worked under you. They had much more experience than you did. I'm curious, though, about that dynamic, because I don't know that a lot of people would take that risk and to become vulnerable to the extent that you could say, I don't really know about this. Can you teach me about that? I'd love for you to just share how did you navigate those waters without appearing like, oh, Dorothy doesn't know anything, or I should be running the place.
I remember when I first went at Harbor Properties when I was the chief operating officer and vice president, and I asked my then assistant, still very close friend, to organize interviews with everybody, all the managers, and from around the state, because we had multiple companies, and I was going to be responsible for managing a bunch of companies: ski areas, residential real estate, property management, and video cable. And I remember I was 29 and a lawyer. Oh my God. These guys came in to the meeting just clearly like, oh, let's shoot me. That like what they just couldn't believe that they were going to be stuck with me as their boss. But what I did is I just asked them about their work. I asked them about their organizations. I followed the lead of this law manager that I mentioned, who asked what's working, what's not working, what's most fulfilling in your work, how might I make you more successful? What is success in your mind for this portion of the organization? And they had tons of ideas. They didn't have my level of higher education. Two of them were men with only high school education, but smart, common sense, and years in the business. And so I just learned from them, and I trusted them, and they came very quickly to trust me. And I tried to do all I could to lift obstacles from their way and to just help them achieve their potential and their organization's potential. And I was rewarded by their success. So I learned so much. Those are just two examples of those two people. But that was my method always as a manager and leader, was to try to learn from people who knew better than I did about the technical things. I always have felt I have had a knack for listening, a knack for communicating with people, drawing people out, encouraging them. But I certainly was not technically anywhere near as able as they were, and I never was. But what I learned is that as an executive, it's not necessary to be the most expert, as long as you are aware of your own limitations and who knows better, and then be able to, have a sense of, are you being played? Is someone manipulating you? Those sort of things.